Okay, so hi, I'm Tanny Jeffrey. I'm Managing Director of Mdee. Mdee's been in the industry a long time, servicing partners across the UK. We're an EE and BT distributor, so we offer the whole portfolio of EE products and services, M2M and BT products and services. And although we're based in the Midlands, we operate on a nationwide basis with around 300 partners.
Thank you for joining us today, Tanny. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Adam.
So can I start with a nice, easy question? So how long have you been at Mdee?
I've been at Mdee employed for about 8 years. Previous to that, I was consulting, and I've known Mark, who owns, he's the majority shareholder of Mdee. I've known him for 30 years now, and he asked me to come in and do a turnaround when I was consulting, and then asked me to stay on as MD.
Fantastic.
Gone really quickly, actually.
Yeah, I bet. And I bet you've seen quite a lot of change in the industry in that time. Yeah,
absolutely. So things within the company have really changed, and in the industry everything changes and nothing changes. So we're lucky we deal with a lot of partners that we dealt with then and who I've dealt with previously, but there's always something new happening, and a way in which you have to adapt and be flexible and change your systems and processes, so it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, well, they say you should never ask a lady her age, but I have to ask you, how long have you been in the industry in total?
Yeah, over 30 years. I think it's 32 years this year, so it's been a long old time.
And what keeps you so enthusiastic? Because every time I speak to you, Tanny, you're still so enthusiastic about the industry.
Yeah, I think it's the people. So I absolutely love working with my partners, working with my team. I find it interesting to work with so many different businesses in the UK, from small one-man bands to big corporates. So I'm lucky to have that opportunity. And over the years, a lot of the partners have become my friends, and like people that have worked with me like you have, and we've carried on talking. So it's a pleasure, really. It's not a job. And sometimes I think, oh, next week I've got all these appointments and I'm going to do all these activities. That's not really work, is it? But it is work. But it's something that I love to do.
Yeah, and breathe it in, because it really is testament to your character and your approach. Genuinely, why you maintain and retain those relationships.
Thank you.
So that's a big point, actually, in terms of any industry. You're working in distribution. How do you maintain and build those relationships with such a wide, varied range of partners?
I think it's about understanding what people want and how they operate and what's important to them. And it's not just what's important to them, but what if we took away some of the blockages and challenges that they have every day, then how much more business could they do? And obviously that in turn that helps us. So it's really understanding the nature of the business and what those people are aiming to do, what their objectives are, how they're looking to grow, and how we can work with them. And really, a distributor should be taking away a lot of the operational and process stuff, so that they can get on and build their business and develop their business. So it's really, they sell, we do the rest. We should be their virtual back office.
Yeah, and then from talking to the resellers, absolutely, that's what they've all said. And the support, they're really, really pleased with the level of support and the variety of support they get from your team.
Yeah, and I think as well, Adam, sometimes, it's very difficult for these partners, because they are they're small businesses mainly, and they're very entrepreneurial, and they need to move quickly. They need to respond to their customer requirements quickly. And working with such a huge network like E and BT, it's important that they have a conduit in the middle, so that we can turn things around. And if we know something isn't going to fit into a particular thread or structure with the network, it's our job to say, well, hang on a minute, how can we work this in a different way, or how can we stack it differently, or what commercial slice can we put on it, to make it really work for the partner and for the network. So it's interesting, because it's not just a one size fits all thing that we do. It's really coming up with innovative solutions and different ways of doing things to make things work for everybody involved.
Yeah. So how have you geared the business of Mdee up to be able to offer the varied amount of support, that back office support, to make sure that you can treat your partners as individuals?
So we've got a really, we've done a lot of automation since I joined. We've got the system in place, which is GEM, so it's an end-to-end platform, and that really works from being a CRM to stacking deals, to paying commissions, to reconciling. There's a lot of MI and reporting in there. So that works for us internally, and it's meant that I've been able to free up some of the team to, instead of being doing admin, to be doing business development. And we've managed to really skew the balance from ops to sales, which has been, and marketing, which has been great. And then it's really engaging individuals within the business and making sure that they're part of the strategy and what we're trying to achieve, and making sure that they're regularly speaking with partners and asking questions, being curious, really anticipating what might happen. If you do this, then what might happen and what might go wrong, and how are we going to mitigate that? So it's about everybody working towards the same goal, but enjoying it and building a relationship with the partner. So with most of our key partners, we've got multi-level relationships, both at MD and at the partner, and that really works. And it makes it sticky on both sides, and it makes it possible for partners to get an immediate response, even if it's not from their normal day-to-day contact. They know other people that they can engage with to get the answer to a question.
Fantastic. And you, as you and I both know, in any industry, speed is important of communication and getting those responses and getting those. And the networks can be slow, so that's quite a lot of responsibility as a distributor to bridge that gap between varied partners' needs and what can be quite a rigid mothership, if you like, at network level. But you've got experience in both. So how do you bridge that?
Well, so I guess the network needs to be careful. They've got corporate governance. They do things properly. So it's understandable. And I think setting a reasonable expectation with the partner in the first place is important, so that they understand. If we're going to create this bespoke contract, it is going to take X amount of days to build something and build a contract specifically for you, for example. But it's about having our own systems in place so that we can turn things around really quickly. And there are things that we've taken on from the network that we now do ourselves. So we are really quick, and we have SLAs in place. And for example, if a new prospect contacts our company, they will be contacted the same day, because it's important, because it's an opportunity for us, and they've been good enough to present that to us, so we should be professional enough to go back quickly and turn it around. So it's really setting an expectation with all parties, and sometimes with the network, if we've got a big deal coming in, we will give them the heads up on that and say, in the next few weeks, these deals are going to come in. We need to get everything in line so that when it comes in, it will be processed really quickly. So it's about communicating clearly, setting expectations and doing things really as quickly as you can without being, keeping the accuracy in it.
Yeah, fantastic. About getting it right first time, talking with your team, that seemed like a real strong ethos of MD, is that ability to get it right first time and work so closely with their partners in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody makes mistakes, and it's how you handle those mistakes and how you turn it around, isn't it? And I think partners will appreciate it if you say, this has gone wrong, but what we're going to do about it is this, that, and the other, because we've got to be realistic. Something will go wrong with the network or with MD or with the partner at some point. It's how you handle it and how you turn it around.
And now it might sound a really obvious question, but I've got to ask it. How important are your partners to MD?
Well, they're vital. We wouldn't be here without the partners, would we? So, absolutely vital.
Cool. And I can link back to when we worked together, and your leadership style was one of a personal nature, I found, and there was a real firm but fair approach with you, Tanny, and you have high expectations of yourself and of your team, as well as I think of your partners, rightly so. But when I was looking through the behaviours of MD and the values, one that really jumped out to me, I'd like to ask you, is the own it value. So, and the behaviour. So how does that show up on a day-to-day basis within the team at MD?
So it is about it's about owning it in so many different ways. You own a problem, so see it through from beginning to end. Even if you need to delegate it to somebody else, it's still your problem that you need to go back and have it resolved. Own a challenge. Put everything you can into that challenge. How are you going to make it work? Who can you bring in to help? And it's just taking responsibility for stuff, isn't it? And making it happen and being progressive and keep moving forward. It doesn't matter if you're moving forward in millimeters, but as long as you're moving forward and growing and learning and flexing, then that's so important to me. And that's what I love seeing in my team, is when they actually phone me up. So an example would be, somebody phoned me up last week after the company meeting and said, oh, can I ask some questions about the figures, and have we thought about doing this report, and what does that mean? And I was like, this is great. He's really owning this and coming to me and asking, and he was apologetic. I was like, don't apologize, this is fantastic. So it's about not just coming in to do a day's work, it's coming in to immerse yourself in the business, and you'll get such satisfaction out of that if you do it that way.
Fantastic. So how proud are you of the leadership that you've demonstrated and the leadership of your team?
Oh, I'm lucky. I've got a great team, so they're not hard to lead at all. And I'm a mum, so I'm used to it. But I enjoy it, Adam. It's just a pleasure for me, and it's been really rewarding. Some of the guys in my team have worked with me for over 20 years, and it's so rewarding to see them change and develop and grow and reflect back and say, oh, do you remember when I used to do this? And so it's just I'm putting in now what somebody else put in previously for me, and I've been lucky enough to work for some great leaders, and I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn. So that's all that I ask my team to do. Just be open to learning and anticipate change.
Yeah, and be adaptable to it. Yeah. Nathan shared with me lovingly earlier, 26 years, I think he said, that you two have been working together at different times.
Crazy.
He said that he can hear himself saying to some of the team now the things that you used to say to him when he was younger, and it's coming through.
Yeah, but that's great, isn't it? Well, as long as they're the right things, yeah.
But it's living that ethos of, like you say, continual development and improvement, and it's something that you've always been passionate about in the time that I've known you.
Yeah, and I think it's important, to establish relationships with outside of your working environment, so that you have peers in the industry to chat with and talk about things that are changing, and you have good relationships at the network, and you have, I've got relationships with some of my partners where we will just talk about not just the industry, but about business, and what do they think of this, or what do they think of B Corporation status, and it's just it's interesting to learn from other leaders, just because they're in a different sector to me, and outside of the telecoms industry. It's I think really important to maintain a good business relationship and a business network.
Yeah, it's brilliant that you mentioned that, because that's something that really came through in the interviews that I've had with your partners as well as your team, that you really focused on building that business relationship, and to the guys that they're not just dealing with stacking deals. That's a small part, but it's a big part at times. But it's that whole business exposure that your team have to understand what it takes to run a business, whether it's a small reseller, a large partner and stuff like that. So that really comes through strong. How have you developed that in the team?
Yeah, so it's really important, and it goes back, years for me when I was working at a different company, and the people in the warehouse were telling me that they needed more staff, and I was thinking not really convinced. So I moved my office into the warehouse, and for 3 months I worked in the warehouse, and I did every job in the warehouse because I wanted to understand how it worked. And so I encourage all my teams to do that now. So everybody's either gone through or is going through cross training. So it means if somebody, we're quite a small team really of people, and it means that if somebody leaves or is ill or has an emergency, somebody else can easily step in and cover that role. And it means that they're investing in their own development and their own skill set and broadening their own horizons. And not that I don't want anybody to leave, because obviously I don't, but it just makes them it makes them more rounded people and more highly skilled people. And if everybody in Mdee, which is our goal, if everybody in Mdee is learning something every day, our mass of learning will increase so significantly over the year, and that will be reflected into our partner base, won't it? And they'll see that, and then it's a ever increasing circle.
Yeah, it's an evergreen life cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the partners then. So what does a partner look like for you?
Honestly, Adam, all totally different types, from, you know, young entrepreneurs who are just coming into the mobile industry, who maybe have been in IT, who are interested in starting off and ask for help from us in terms of, you know, who should I be approaching, what sort of customers, how do I engage with my existing customer base, what sales messages shall I give. So anybody from that end of the spectrum, all through, you know, big corporates that are selling mobile as maybe a tiny part, or they've maybe got a telecoms division and they're not even in telecoms, but they've got a telecoms division, through to people that have been in the industry for even longer than me, if that's possible, and who know what they're doing, but maybe they want a bit of creativity, or maybe they want some different ideas, or to understand what other people are doing, or how other people have introduced BT services or such like. So, you know, no partner's the same, and we don't treat them all the same either. They all get a great level of service, but you have to treat people as individuals, which is why, although we've got a ticketing system, I love the fact that the team will pick up the phone and speak to people. Partners will call me and speak to me or my team, because it's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, hugely. So how about then if somebody's listening to this and they're in the channel, but maybe they connect with other networks, so EE isn't their main network. What can you do for them as a partner?
So it's not necessarily about taking that other network business away. So it's not about there's a cake and we want a bigger slice of that cake. It's about growing the size of the cake. So, you know, some partners have got restrictions on EE or other networks because of their incumbent, their main contract, and that's fine. So it's about, you know, how can we help them develop their overall business? How can we help grow the EE bit? What activities can we put in? So we do a lot of marketing for partners, we do digital marketing for them, we put incentives in for their sales teams, make sure they understand it. And I think the fact that we do a lot of the processing and stacking and admin and that kind of thing, even to the point where we go to see the customer with the partner, and bring EE in to see the customer with the partner, you know, that will help them grow, won't it?
Yeah, so I guess you make it exceptionally easy for them to try a different network, to get experience using a network, because
we do everything for them. And then over time, you know, they want to, you know, a lot of them want to take a little bit of control back and take that on board. But at the beginning, we make it really easy for them to do business. And quite often people that haven't done EE before, or indeed they haven't done it very much, will say, well, can you just do it for me? Because we don't really understand it. And I think that can be a real barrier, especially in multi-network partners, where, you know, it's not even the salesperson, it's maybe the admin team in processing it. They're just not familiar with it, and so it's uncomfortable. But if we can do that for them, and then gradually over time hand it back to them, or carry on doing it for them, doesn't matter, then it builds up their confidence, doesn't it? And they're more likely to push it and try it.
100%. And it's brilliant to hear you talk about, if we can help them grow their business as a whole, then as they grow their business, the EE part of their business will just naturally grow with it. It's not like, so it's that, and Nathan talks about this a lot, some of your other team members did, and your partners fed back, is that you're interested in helping them look at new areas to expand their business and grow their business, and challenge their thought processes around growing their business, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And it's things like, you know, we can so partners will sometimes say to me, I've got this opportunity, but it's too big. It isn't too big. Let's think about how we can tackle it together. So, you know, we can call into EE and call on their bid support team and get proper input into, you know, tenders and bids and that type of thing. So it's really just thinking a little bit outside the normal parameters and think, well, how can we make this happen? So I remember one of my team, I think he was in your team actually, Cliff, he always said, you know, it's best to have a how can I help you attitude rather than a what do you want attitude. And that's a similar type of concept, isn't it? You know, how can we make it work? Not, well, we can't do it, but how can we make it work? Because there's always a way.
Yeah, love it. Fantastic. So my last cheeky question then. What do
cheeky question from you? I don't know.
Yeah, no, sorry, out of character. What would you say Mdee do as a distributor that other distributors don't do?
I would say that we work as hard as we can to make sure the partner doesn't want to leave us. That's part of our vision, you know, that to be the distributor of choice and one that nobody ever wants to leave. So yeah, there are, you know, there are contractual points and everything, but I want my team to make sure that the partner never wants to have to leave us. They wouldn't even question it.
Yeah, and that's clear in the culture and stuff. When you talk to the guys, there's that whole love my partner approach. Their attitude is very much a case of let's do everything for you so that you can focus on your customer.
Mm.
You know, and then when you're making it that easy, why would they want to leave, right?
Mm. And you know, sometimes we mess up, and we had an incident a few weeks ago where a partner and one of my team had a bit of an altercation, and it's about, you know, I think the easy thing might have been for them both to walk away, but we didn't, and we got back involved, and you know, thank the partner for having another chance, and actually we ended up having a brilliant conversation, and we learned loads, and we've changed some things internally because of that. And I think it's important to be humble and to, you know, sometimes put your hand up and say, you know, this didn't go as well as it should have done, and how can we help fix it? You know, it doesn't happen very often, but as I said before, mistakes do happen in a business, and it's all about, you know, re-engaging with the person and trying to work it out and trying to find a solution. And we have, and the partner's delighted, and so am I. So
Brilliant. And that goes back to that value of own it, right? And the behaviors of, you know, kind of remain curious and act on intuition, you know. So it's lovely to see that, feel that, and hear that, not just from yourself, Tanny, as a great leader, but within your team, and then hearing it back from your partners as well. So
yeah, good.
Fantastic. So listen, thank you for your time, Tanny, and really appreciate your honesty.
Thank you.